in a set of circumstances, and it seems like it's not going to change. So James, the half-brother of Jesus, to begin with, he was an unbeliever. Okay? Think about it. Calling your brother or your half-brother your Lord. Okay? It was a tough thing for James. In John chapter 7, verse 5, it says, "For not even his brothers believed in him. However, during the 40 days period between Jesus' resurrection and his ascension, Jesus appeared to his half-brother James and the rest of the disciples." The truth is, when you meet with Jesus, you cannot remain the same person. Something has to change. So James became the leader of the church in Jerusalem. James had things going well for him. You think he will introduce himself as the half-brother of Jesus. "Hey guys, that was my brother." No, he did not. Because the truth is what qualified James to write this letter was not his physical relationship to Jesus, it was his spiritual relationship. So James wrote to the 12 tribes in the dispersion or the diaspora. After the death of Stephen in Acts chapter 7, the Jewish Christians were persecuted in Jerusalem, and some of them fled to Judea and Samaria. The Jews who were scattered were persecuted and exploited by the Gentiles. Some of them were homeless, and they were robbed of their possessions. They had less standing than slaves. These were the people that James wrote to. I want you to keep that in mind. The people he wrote to, they were scattered, exploited. They have less standing than a slave. And here's what he says to them in James chapter 1, verse 2. "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds." Don't you think it would be more appropriate for James to say, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you escape trials"? That's what I would have in mind, right? Consider it a joy when you are not persecuted, when you are not running away for your life. That's what I would say. But that's not what James says. James says, "Count it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you meet or face trials of various kinds." Again, think about it. James is saying that to people who were scattered, persecuted, lost everything. And he said, count what you're going through as pure joy. So James is not suggesting us as Christians when things like this happen that we should not be sad or mad. That's not what he's suggesting. Here's what he's saying. Rather, consider what you are going through. Can it be an occasion for growth? An opportunity to experience true joy? To see trials as a source of something good? You know, when bad things happen, you and I, we just quickly want to change it. We don't want to experience anything bad. James says when things happen, when life happens, he wants you and me to try something new. And this might sound crazy to some of you. James wants you to try to embrace it. Try to adapt a different mindset toward adversity. Instead of thinking about it, this is terrible, life will never be the same again. James says, think about it. Could God be up to something good? To which you might say, Sammy, give me 5 minutes of your time to tell you my story, and you will see this does not apply to me. And to which I would say, you're probably right. But James has something to say about that. James says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because You know that. You know that the testing of your faith produces something. You know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. When James says, count it all joy or consider it, he didn't say if. He says, when you face trials. Because he knows you're going to face trials. Jesus says this, in this life you will have tribulation. Take heart that I have overcome it. Here, this one sentence here, count it all joy, is an imperative. It's not a suggestion. James says it's in order. It's a command. Whatever you're going through, count it all joy. Think about it. There's a reason why James says that. He knows something. He said it because he knows the testing of your faith will produce something at the end. You know, one of the things I didn't like when I was in school is surprise test. You know, when the teacher comes and start handing out the paper, I'm just like, I still remember, I would look at my classmates and I would tell them, we have a test today? Because I wasn't ready for that, right? And that's what James says. James is saying to you and to me, when that happens in life, when you face adversity, when life takes you by surprise, when the doctor calls, or when your spouse calls, or you go to work, it's not good news. Instead of assuming the worst, James wants you to think of adversity differently. James says, I want you to consider it as the source of something good. James wants you to look for deeper meaning through what you are going through. James wants you to take the time to ask God, God, what are you teaching me through this?